It's the time to get down.
Some of y'all will be, some of those Persians are going to get stopped too.
Yup.
I'm not Mexican. I'm not Mexican.
And people from India, they'll get it too.
But what some of them, they can't mix, they get them mixed up.
But what does an immigrant look like?
Well, let's see what they have to say here.
Yeah, I know it. That's wrong.
Let's see what they have to say, team.
Enforcing America's immigration laws has always been left to the federal government, though some local police forces have been asked to help detain illegal foreigners for breaking those laws. But Arizona's legislature has now declared illegal immigration a state crime. It bars illegal residents from working or seeking work in the state, and it gives state and local law enforcement officers the power to stop.
We need to boycott the whole damn state.
Of anyone suspected of illegal residence. Republican legislators.
Remember how they voted on the King, on Martin Luther King's birthday?
Last one.
We know y'all. Arizona has a history.
You come in illegally. Otherwise, you'll be arrested and be deported.
In fact, the bill's only penalty, a possible short jail sentence.
So what does McCain have to say?
Up to $500.
He has his own legend piece. He's caving.
Because the Obama administration is too lax in curbing illegal immigration.
Unfortunately, the federal government is backtracking, undercutting our efforts here, and we've seen evidence of that recently.
Yet, in Obama's first year in office, his Homeland Security Department actually deported an average of 1,000 people a day, nearly twice the average during the term of his predecessor, George Bush. The bill's opponents said local police will be steered away from their main focus, combating violent crime.
All of these anti-immigrant legislation that come out of the Senate and come out of the House of Representatives here in Arizona has done nothing to help us. It hasn't made us a safer place or a safer community.
And the American Civil Liberties Union warned many innocent U.S. citizens, Native Americans, and lawful residents will be swept up in the application of this law because of the requirement that officers detain and investigate the immigration status of people they come across. Arizona's governor, who's backed tougher immigration enforcement, is expected to sign the bill into law. But human rights groups are gearing up to challenge it in the courts. And many business leaders say it will only hobble Arizona's economic recovery by chasing away a cheap and available workforce. Tom Ackerman, Al Jazeera.
Too bad I got to go to Al Jazeera to get videos that I can show you.
That's right.
Shows you's open to us using. You know, Al Jazeera is now.
Al Jazeera.
Thank you, Al Jazeera. I love Al Jazeera. Al Jazeera now has an English section where, and they produce these videos now with, now I get it, check this out. Al Jazeera now does news with English, in English. I have a whole English section.
They always have, though. They've been doing it for the last few years, though.
And I'm telling you, it's amazing because I can get more news stories. When you want to get some controversy, some real insight into some of the things
other side.
Besides consumer journalism, you can go to Al Jazeera. That's just what ends up happening. That's the way it is because they're not like some of the other news agencies. They're trying to spread the news, okay, and appreciating our support. Here's another piece, too, on the same subject. Because we have to deal with this immigration.
We think she probably died maybe 3 weeks to 3 months prior to the time she was recovered.
The unforgettable odor of a decomposing human body fills this laboratory at the Pima County Medical Examiner's office. These bones, bits of hair, and clothing are what's left of a young woman who was probably between the ages of 17 to 20. He uses her hip bones to determine age and gender. She apparently died of dehydration, attempting to cross some of the most rugged and inhospitable terrain in the Americas, where deaths of undocumented immigrants have been mounting. More than 1,600 people have died in the last 8 years, although an exact figure is hard to come by. Many are never identified because they carry no evidence of who they were or where they came from.
Most of these people who risk their life crossing the desert are poor. They haven't been to a dentist. They haven't been to a doctor. They don't have records the way a lot of Americans do.
So scores of Mexican families are left waiting for information on their missing sons and daughters, husbands and wives.
If the remains of this young woman cannot be identified, they'll be brought to this county cemetery and buried along with the bones of hundreds of other unidentified border crossers. Forensic experts say their work is made all the more difficult because they don't have access to databases of missing people from Mexico or the rest of Latin America.
This flag marks the spot where concerned Americans leave drinking water for the migrants coming through here. They say the U.S. government is to blame for many of the deaths. By sealing other parts of the border, Washington has forced migrants to attempt crossing the desert.
The government planned for people to die. It's not like they wanted necessarily people to die, but they knew that the strategies they were putting in place, the tactics they were using, were going to create a situation putting people in isolated, desolate areas where death would result. But they decided that those deaths would serve as a deterrent.
But that has not been the case. Increasing poverty and disparity of wealth in Mexico only give many more people reason to risk their lives for better paying jobs in the United States, whatever the dangers. Frank Contreras, Al Jazeera, Tucson, Arizona.
Wow. You know, I think you have to put a face on the issues. I trained in a place where I had mostly 95% Spanish speaking. I don't make it any secret that I'm a proud supporter of immigration reform. And when I say immigration reform, I mean I'm for opening up the damn borders. I'm for the free movement of all colonized people to move freely within the colony. And as the radical leftist I am, since we've been controlling the whole South American economy, overthrowing and killing governments, when we didn't want you in there, believe me, we got you out. South America is our colony, so stop faking like you haven't been running Mexico. That's why Mexico's as messed up it is today, because of our interests, okay? And you never hear America, even they talk about the drug trade. They don't like to talk about America's involvement from the U.S. government on down to our own domestic support of those drugs.
With a Republican administration.
Hey, whose land is this? Like I said, I love to see Americans so fervently protecting the land that their ancestors stole. Okay, stole. Okay, you need to remember some real history, okay? So when you drape yourself in that flag, know what that means to me, okay? All right, anyway, so that's it. Let's leave that one, because it pisses me off.
Yeah,
all right, it pisses me off. Everybody knows where I sit on that one. All right, now, meanwhile, you had gun activists out here just to show you another issue, because this whole issue of gun control and the issue of militias is going on, you guys. And it shows you how complex it is, because the people get on me because they, Mario, how do you feel about gun control? I don't support gun control. They say, well, degrees of gun. Why? Because I recognize the idea that you might wonder, why do they have that in your Constitution?
Oh, don't talk about the apocalypse,
you might have to
Mario.
fight your government one day. And if they have all the guns, I'm serious.
Mario, don't say that, because that's what they're trying to do right now. That's what they're trying. No,
why do you think it's one of the
like
amendment? Why do you think that's one of the guaranteed rights to bear firearms? Because one day you may have to fight your government. Okay, one day you might. Now you can say not now, and people say, "Oh, Clinton just talked about this." No, it's not that I'm saying go out and join a militia, but I understand at least the mentality. People don't trust. You have worldwide things going on that this country participates in that a lot of people take very seriously. My issue with gun control is that I don't want to see a time when the U.S. government has guns and I don't. I'm sorry. I'm one of the people too. Okay.
Mario, can I say something?
Sorry.
Don't you think our government has a plan?
They damn sure do.
They have a plan.
That's the plan that they're doing right now.
People, and I mean, look what they did with the Black Panther movement.
Sure, they have a plan.
Did with the gang, some of the gang things that have happened. So I just look at it this way.
I think the problem is that
I don't need a gun to go in. I don't want to kill anybody.
What happens is Americans cannot imagine their government as Nazi Germany. Okay, Americans have a hard time imagining their government as Nazi Germany. They believe that there are checks and balances, but a lot of people don't see that occurring. You have a situation.
Yeah, well, it is occurring, like down in Virginia, yeah.